Hey, good afternoon. This is Don Gulling, CEO of Verteks Consulting. Appreciate you joining the webinar today. Looking forward to sharing some Mitel training content with you, both from kind of a power user tips and tricks perspective and also in Director for administrative purposes. So got a great agenda. Just a couple of reminders. I am going to monitor the questions field in the GoToWebinar section and also the chat window. So I'll keep an eye on those throughout the session. So if you've got specific questions or if you've got feedback that I can integrate into the webinar, definitely share that. I'd love to try to incorporate it if possible. If there are any questions or chat items that I don't address, I will personally follow up with you myself kind of ASAP as soon as the webinar ends, and definitely very rapidly, but I try to integrate it as much as I can. Additionally, we have on the call today Brittany DeFilly. She's muted out, but she's our marketing coordinator, and she's the one who has been managing our webinar registration, attendance, and sending out all the emails for confirmations and so on. She's also the one who handles the recording, editing, and posting of these on our YouTube channel. So thanks for that, Brittany. She will record this webinar today. She'll kind of edit it for time and content and put it up on our YouTube channel as quickly as possible. Typically within a day or so, it'll be there. Just remember that we've archived all these trainings on our YouTube channel. So we have probably, 20, 25 training videos up there right now that you can access. And we're always looking for input on additional training topics to cover. So please feel free to email either me or Brittany at any time with any topics you'd like included on our next training webinar. We'd love to cover it for you. Our agenda today, based on some feedback from a couple of you that are on, we were asked to go back over some power user tips and tricks, and specifically to talk about the events section, what call GUIDs are, how they work for troubleshooting, using call data exporting, filtering, looking that data up, and also using Director integrated reporting. That's the primary focus of the webinar today. Again, I am going to monitor chat and questions to try to integrate whatever I can to cover any topics as they arise, so feel free to use that too. A reminder, we've had a lot of clients ask us recently about the Mitel 6900 IP phone series. If you are on Connect already and you've done a Connect migration or you were installed with Connect, you can use any of these phones. You can also use all the phones you have now, so you're not forced to replace them. They're still fully compatible. That said, a lot of clients are interested in kind of specifically looking at the cordless 6930 because there's no handset cord. I use one of those. I like it because there's no cord. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes, actually. But you can walk around the office a little bit. You don't have to worry about it getting tangled up. I'm kind of a neat freak a little bit, so the cord getting tangled was always something that bothered me. So the Bluetooth is super nice. In addition to that, you could get the bigger model that has a touch screen. They're all great, frankly, but the phones you have now work as well. But if you're looking for a handset refresh, please let us know. There are some discounts available. Additionally, we've got a lot of accessories now. Mitel is a much bigger company than ShoreTel was, so Mitel was able to add things like this Bluetooth speakerphone. I absolutely love this. I use it all the time, so that's great. You can get a Bluetooth handset for some of these other models if you didn't buy it with one. The Mitel integrated headset, I use that also, very nice. Plugs right into the phone, right into the side, fits snugly, gets power from it. There's no cables, there's no handset lifters or any of that jazz, and it works awesome. So really happy with that. And then lastly, this Wi-Fi phone adapter. You could take this Wi-Fi phone adapter, connect it to your Wi-Fi network at your home if you're teleworking, as an example, connect your Mitel phone to it, and use that to use your teleworker phone. So if you're in a home setting today because of COVID or any other reason, and you don't have, Ethernet cables in your office or wherever you want to work, but you do have Wi-Fi, you can use this Wi-Fi adapter, which is super nice. Those are the primary accessories that I see being quoted the most and people that are interested in the most. Again, I can totally vouch for this Bluetooth speakerphone. I use it all the time and I love it. And I can totally vouch for this headset. I use it all the time, as well as the Bluetooth handset. Personally, I have not yet personally used the Wi-Fi adapter. We've got some out there and clients love them. But you know, obviously, when we sell this stuff, if you aren't happy with it, please let me know and we'll get your money back. So let's dive into the content. Again, this is the agenda for today. I'm going to pull up first and go to the power user tips and tricks, and I'm going to talk about events, call GUIDs, and so on, and then I'm going to move into director integrated reporting, and I'll keep an eye on the chat and the questions window as we go along to try to help out and integrate what I can during this session. So let me move my screen over here. So hopefully what you can see on my screen share now is I've got my, let me pull this up here. I've got my Connect client, and on that Connect client, what you can see is I'm currently marked as available. Actually, I'm not, right? I'm in a meeting, so I'm going to change that to in a meeting. And I've got all the familiar buttons you're used to. Obviously, you can shrink that down and go to kind of a minimized view. If this is as small as I can make mine because I have my toolbars turned on. We talked about that in a prior session. If you didn't have these toolbars, you can make this very small. I like the larger view personally. It's just easier to read. In here, what I want to focus on today heavily is call data, specifically, you know, recent calls. When you click on your recent button, you're going to see options for all calls, just missed calls, right? When you're on the all calls, you also have an option over here to export call data. I'm going to cover that in just a minute. But for now, what I want to talk to you about is on the all calls function. This is searchable. You can just type anything you want in here. Let me type in my cell phone, and you'll see that I called my cell phone today at 1:49 p.m. for 1 minute and 7 seconds. Why would I do that? Because I knew I was going to do it in this training session. That's why. So I called my cell phone, but I also called my cell phone on 12/3 at 10:54 a.m. for 7 seconds. Probably another demo. So again, searchable, really easy to find. I can also look and see last time I called Paul. Paul and I talked quite a bit. He's our service manager, as a lot of you know. I can also look here and look at last time I called John, or I can look at the last time I called Childers. It pulls them up there, or I can do it by extension number if it's an internal call, and I see the extension number. So all very easy. Ryan Arellano, who's our one of our pre-sales system engineers, he and I talk frequently. And then our newest addition to the team, our client success manager, Robert Hipke, started with us about 2 months ago. His extension 1465, you'll be hearing more about him in the next coming days and weeks as he helps us with our Mitel clients and making sure they're getting full advantage of these trainings and all their warranty and service benefits. So that's the search function. Super easy to use. You can type in a name, an extension, a number, or a piece of any of those things, and it searches it. It's pretty quick as well. Last thing on here, on a search, if you type J space CH, it finds John Childers, and it's subtle, maybe a little hard to see, but it highlights the J and the CH. Again, very subtle, but it's there. Just like if I type DGUL, it finds me, right? And it highlights that part. Or RHIP, it'll find Robert Hipke and it highlights that part, or, you know, Brittany DePhilly and it highlights that part. Kind of, you get the point. Or I can look up, you know, her internal extension number. Sometimes I call her cell phone. And now you can scroll through and see last time I called her cell phone from the office was, geez, long time, probably never, usually from my cell, I guess. Childers, I call his cell quite a bit. See if that's in here. Yep. So there's me, a call to John Childers' cell on November 18th. A lot of people are, and the ones that asked about this in the training were wondering, hey, somebody called, said they left me a message. I didn't get a message. They want us to kind of run that down. First thing I tell them is look in your call directory and see if it's in there. And they say it's not. In that case, they did not call you. They might have called somebody else or hit the wrong extension number. It happens. This is a great, I wouldn't say infallible, but I've never seen it wrong, resource for you for your call history. That said, maybe you need to produce kind of a miniature report or some kind of evidence for anything as to why or who you called and when. A good use of this would be if you wanted to have a call log for a sales team member or a call log for a marketing person, and you didn't want to give them director access. So they're not an admin, they're just a regular power user. You want to give them access to call reporting. That's what this button's for, the export call data button. Little kind of tip here, that button is only available in the all calls window. If you go to the missed calls window, it disappears. Why? Couldn't tell you, but it infuriates me. So all calls, export call data, and it's going to give you options for today, this week, or this month. I know it says last week. You might, I don't know why it says that either. You might think it was kind of, not this week, but the week before this. It means the last 7-day period, essentially. Last month means in a 30-day period, and it shows you the dates right here, 18th to the 17th. Those are your only options. It won't go farther back than that on the export call data. So it is a 30-day max window. Click on export. It's going to give you an option to save a CSV file to wherever you like. I'm going to drop it in my downloads folder. Quickly pull up File Explorer here, go to Downloads. It's right at the top, right there. Double click it. Going to pull up Excel. And I'm going to do a couple of things here. I like to select all these columns and double click here, and it kind of auto expands. And, highlight the top, bold it, go here and do a filter on it. And when I have filter turned on, I can do all kinds of things. Obviously, I can choose, do I want to just see outgoing calls only? Click OK, shows me all my outgoing calls. Let's do this. Shrink this down quite a bit. Make it a little smaller. And let's make this font a little bit bigger. A little easier to read. Okay. So this is all my outgoing calls. Maybe I want to look at my incoming calls or missed calls. Same story there. You can see them all, just like that. Really neat. Another thing you can do, let's turn on all the calls again. Remove that filter. Let's make all of it the same size. It's all easy to read. And look for a specific number. In this case, I'm going to look for, let's look at John Childers. Oops. Clear that. Let's actually go contains 1460. Oh, I got the wrong number. Let me choose a different one. Let's do contains 8477. That's my cell phone number. So you can see here, a couple calls there, gives the date, the time. It's in 24-hour format on our time zone, direction, incoming or outgoing, and then the call duration, 1 minute and 7 seconds. This was only 7 seconds. You will see a column header here for call note. So call note is, I like to call it kind of a legacy function. But in the past, when you were on a call, and let's say you dialed somebody, let me dial my cell phone number here. Let's do that right now. So it's going to dial my cell phone. Turn that down real low so we don't hear it. Mute it. So I've got a call on my cell phone right now. Up here in the past, you used to have the ability to have a call note. It was like a button. Mitel removed it when we went to connect, so it's not there anymore. Now they put it here in the active call window. It's right. Even I missed it sometimes. Well, it's down here, call note. So click on call note, and I can type in a call note, say collections call, Don needs to pay his bills. Said he would. So that call note is saved. I'm going to go ahead and end the call. Call's over. If I do a new export of that call data and pull up those call notes, it's gonna be in there. So let's kind of quickly do that. Go to my recent again, export call data. Let's just do today. Save it in my downloads folder. Go back over here. Here it is on the top. Oh, is that the one on the top? 214. Okay, the second one. This is from today. And then now you see the call note right there. Make that larger, right? So you can see it. collections call, Don needs to pay his bills, said he would. So not something that is a power tool or really any kind of fantastic database. However, a nice function if you have users that are in a situation where they want to make notes about calls and not use CRM, or save it for history, or for whatever reason, you can definitely do that. So those are some functions that are available to you inside Connect Client without being an administrator, all under recent. So definitely something to share with your users if you think it could be a benefit to them. Next, I want to go over events. So events, if you're using Connect with either Office 365, or if you have Outlook installed on your PC and you have it integrated, events will suck in all of your Outlook calendar items as well. And what's nice about events, in my mind, is if you have a call coming up later today, client, here's the name, it gives me an option to dial in via my telephone or to dial in via a screen share. As I scroll down, you'll see some kind of other meetings. There's no conference bridges on these. These are just kind of internal meetings. And then I can scroll. Here's an all-day event. It highlights it nice, says all day. A reminder for myself that it's Christmas Eve, so I don't forget. That's when dads go Christmas shopping, right? Christmas Eve. So all that's in there, and it'll go and go and go. I mean, it's nice on this event. It'll just keep scrolling down. It kind of loads and loads and loads. Goes out to the end of the month for me. So what I love about it is if there's a conference bridge attached, and the conference bridge is either a GoToMeeting, a GoToWebinar, a Mitel meeting, a Mitel webinar, and several others, it will recognize it and put the bridge in a little call button for you right there and let you dial in straight from this without having to open Outlook, go to the thing, click the link, etc. So it's a nice way to do it. Another thing you can do with it, which is also kind of cool, is if you're working with teammates internally and you want to schedule something like a conference bridge, I just click on New Event. Let's say I want to have a sales team AM quote review. Maybe we're going to get together in the morning and look at kind of quotes we've been asked to generate, and we're going to do it tomorrow. So I'll click on that, and I'll change it to 08:30, and it's going to last 0 hours and 30 minutes. And in Don's office. So attendees, organizers, me. Presenters, kind of who else I want to have on there, and then an agenda. So let's put in here Brittany, and it finds her right there. Let's put in there Ryan Arellano, put him in. John Childers, J. Chill, right? And our Robert Hipke. So you notice I just typed in a piece of the first and a piece of the last. Now they're all in there as presenters. Scroll down here to agenda. This is cool. So we start off with, yesterday's quotes, 5 minutes. Today's quotes, 10 minutes. Need help with, watch this, 10 minutes. Tab. And then last one, follow-ups. 10 minutes. Now, when I type that last one in there, it shows me I'm over budget by 5 minutes. Thank you for telling me, because you want an agenda that's on time. So it gives you a color-coded time bar here with the agenda. Yesterday's quotes, today's quotes, need help with, and follow-ups. I can type in some notes if I wanted to. This is from our Mitel training session, showing the events function and how to set up a meeting with an agenda. I can type quickly, but not with a lot of quality. So lastly, more settings at the bottom. Participants. Announce when participants arrive and leave. I can either play a tone or make them record their name. That's a common function, whichever you prefer. I just prefer the tone. mute participants on entry, much as I'd like to sometimes, I can't in this case, and then show everyone's name to all participants. Now, if you want to have a meeting where maybe you've got a HR team member listening in, you don't want everybody to know that, you could uncheck that or whatever. And then lastly, when dialing out to participants, must they press 1 to enter or are automatically added to the audio portion? This is pretty cool. If I click press 1 or automatically added, let's do automatic. When I create this bridge tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m., the Mitel system will call out and join them in to the bridge. They won't actually have to activate the bridge themselves, although they will see it in their events and so on. So those are kind of all the options there. I did kind of leave off a couple of the top, protect meeting with password. Frankly, I never do that. I guess it depends on the industry you're in. Frequently, I find that we're all a little bit flummoxed now with how long these codes get and typing everything in all the time, and maybe you're on your cell phone and the hassle factor and remembering a password on top of it. It's just, to me, an added frustration. But if you're really concerned about security and the event needs to have a password on it, you have the option. And also, you can create a custom access code if you wanted it to match like a, a zip code or match some kind of number that's a known number for your team, so they can remember it and always type it. I leave both those blank and let it kind of auto-generate its own code. So that's my event, a sales team AM quote review for tomorrow at 8:30. It's going to last 30 minutes. Don's office, I'm the organizer. Here's our participants. There's the agenda with the barcoded time, color-coded time, and here's all my options selected. So in a nutshell, that's events. It's going to go ahead and create the meeting. It created the conference. It's going to go ahead and open Outlook for me, which I had closed like a dummy. So before I launch the session today, I typically close out all my applications just because I don't want 50 things running in the background while I'm trying to demo something, because of all the peculiarities that come about in that situation, as we all are aware. So this is what the Outlook invite looks like. It's got my name on there, has the AM quote review. This is the bridge number it created, the 586-05204 at the top. It has all the required attendees, and then it has the overview, the agenda, and the click to join all right there for you. So a pretty easy process. I know a lot of us are initiating this from Outlook instead, or from Teams, or wherever you're doing it from. So I'm not asking you to change that process, but if you want to have additional options, this is a really good one for you to use. So good luck with that one. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the events and move on to the next thing. Any more questions, just throw them up in the chat or the questions window. What I want to talk about next is something called the call GUID, or the call GUID. So what is a call GUID and what are they used for? If you have an issue on your Mitel system related to a phone call, like unusual call quality, a drop call, some crazy occurrence. I haven't had many lately, but an example of one called in was that a client had told us that they were on a phone call with just one other person, a regular extension to extension dial, and they could hear another person in the background having a different conversation with somebody else, but only one side of that conversation. And they were really concerned that, call privacy was not, turned on, or somehow they were overhearing somebody else's conversation. It could have been sensitive, and they were worried about, this being a system-wide problem. They told us, who it was and about what time it was, and we were able to track the call down. And we looked into it and turned out actually that the customer was on a recorded call, and we could hear in the background, they were actually hearing the person in the other cubicle beside the other person, but the microphone was so sensitive it was picking it up. So it wasn't a phone system issue, just a real sensitive mic. That said, if there were a lot of calls that same day or in that same time range from the same people to the same people, it might be hard to find them. So if they know exactly which one it is and they give us the GUID, then we're able to really zero in on that specific call, because these call GUIDs are totally unique and it's everything we need to do troubleshooting. So how do you find a GUID? Well, you can go to your recent calls, and let's say I knew it was to Don's cell phone, and there's Don's cell phone, and it was the one today at 10:54 or it was on 12:03 at 10:54 a.m. I can right-click this with the right click of a mouse, and it says copy call ID to clipboard. So when we say, GUID, if you ever heard that phrase, I emphasize it on our team not to use it unless the customer knows what it means. But the call ID, you copy that, and then you can paste it into an email to help@verteks.com. You can paste it into Notepad, however you want to use it. This call ID is a unique identifier that allows us to find that exact call without searching through records and kind of hunting and pecking around. So that's really the basis to begin call troubleshooting for us. Once we find, the information from you about the date or the time, we'll frequently remote in, look at reports, and try to get the call GUID or call ID for you. But if you ever want to kind of look at it yourself, that's how you do it. So that's what a call ID or a call GUID is, and how you get one from the user side. So pretty straightforward. So that's it for the power user tips and tricks. I wanted to make sure I covered the events, the call ID / call GUID, exporting call data, and then kind of filtering through and looking up call data. We also had kind of a little bonus thing of, what call notes are and how they work. So I'm going to kind of change tracks here and move from the end user over to the administrator. So let me pop up Connect Director, and that's this screen that I'm in right here. So anyone who has administrator access, when they first log into Connect Director, this is the login screen that they're going to see. It's going to be the Mitel Connect dashboard, and it's going to be focused on a 1-hour interval. Obviously, you can change that 12 hours, 1 day, 7 days, 30 days. When you click on these, it's pulling a lot of data from a database to refresh this display, so it can take a second. I'm going to go ahead and flip it to 30 days. That wasn't that long, but it takes about a second. What it's showing us here is call volume, call quality, chunk utilization, bandwidth, feature utilization, and highest CPU utilization. This is a fairly typical looking graph for our system, and the amount of green versus red and the amplitude of these peaks and so on is a fairly typical what you'll see in a system. On call quality, you can also kind of hover on these things, and when you hover, it'll pull up for a day. Here it says that, very small, I know, sorry, but I'll read it to you. It says worst MOS 3.9. MOS is an abbreviation for an industry term called mean opinion score. It goes back to forever, and it's on a 5-point scale. Mean opinion score is 5-point scale is the pin drop standard. You could hear anything, no crackling, no delay, no latency, no jitter, high bandwidth, just crystal clear. Studies have been done over many years because of VoIP to see what people will tolerate for call quality. And in a nutshell, anything above a 3, they say most people can't tell the difference. So that's kind of the rule of thumb around here. If it's above a 3, that's good. A 3, I would say, in common, layman's terms, in my mind, is a great cell phone call. So if you have a cell phone, that's got a strong signal on your side, they're on a cell phone that's got a strong signal on their side, there's no background noise, and they're in a quiet room, that level of audio quality to me is a 3. When you're on a landline, not a cell phone, and they're on a landline, not a cell phone, and it's kind of no background noise, no interference, no static or anything, no headset rustling, that's probably a 4. A 5 is essentially not achievable in the real world, but that's what the MOS means. So when you see these drop to 3.9, it's nothing to worry about because it's still the user couldn't tell the difference. This call on this day had a lowest of a 3.1. Now, the threshold set to 3.6, that's because we want to have that threshold set to a level we can investigate and have it show up on dashboards. 3.6 is not a problem. No user is going to notice or complain about a 3.6. They probably won't even tell the difference. But you could drill into that. So let's click it. And it takes us to that call. And you see right at the top on the left here, the call ID. Again, that's that GUID I mentioned. The call was on the 8th of December at 8:59 a.m., went to 9:01, was on our V-phone switch from Paul Violet to Marie Robinson. Now, Marie Robinson is one of our medical IT specialists who focus on electronic health record systems and practice management systems support for our healthcare clients. She happens to work out of a home office in Maine, in Bangor, Maine. So she's in Maine on a Mitel phone on a VPN over the internet. So that explains kind of the reason. Looking down here, what it has in yellow, a mean opinion score of 4.3 on Marie's side, meaning she heard Paul at a 4.3 level. A 3.1 on Paul's side, he heard her at a 3.1 level because he was receiving delay from her side. Now it looks kind of backwards here, where this, you think these are Paul's numbers. This is actually what he's receiving. This is what she's receiving. So the 3.1 is indicative of her internet connection, and the delay here is indicative of her internet link. Whereas on our side, we got, killer internet, super fast internet. So she had no issues hearing him well. He heard her okay. IP patch trace, super convoluted. Just ignore that. Black hole nonsense. Let's go to spread this out a little bit so you can see it a little bit more. But because it's over the internet, you're going to have kind of all these hops around, and you're going to see the what was read, and red is anything that's below that 3.6 threshold. So that's kind of what call troubleshooting looks like from a graphical perspective inside Director. Keeping in mind that in the real world, frankly, a 3.1, Paul might have noticed something because he's really attentive to that sound, and we're in this industry, so he does kind of pick up on it. But for most people, most folks would think it sounded just like kind of a cell phone call, and so they'd be generally happy with it. So that's the dashboard, and you saw some kind of troubleshooting in there of call quality and what it looks like. Backing up here to call volume, showing how many calls, what times a day, and so on. You'll also see kind of a green and red. And I click on this, I can hover over this, click on this, red, right? That's that call that we talked about, the Paul to Marie call that had the issue on Marie's internet connection. That was that day. Then go back to this one and see a different one. Click on that one. And this one shows this is the call, and we can see both sides of it, Alex to the voicemail system, and what the issue was. This is really the number that jumps out to me is the mean opinion score is a 4.4, and what it shows is there was some delay. It was not noticeable, I assure you. There's no way with a mean opinion score of a 4.4, nobody on earth is going to notice it. So while these dashboards and these call indicators can be useful, I find that a lot of times when you poke around in there, it kind of raises more alarms than it should because the thresholds are so very, very high versus what people are accustomed to in terms of call quality. So that's the dashboard section. What I'd like to do is jump over into reporting. So as a lot of you know, Mitel, formerly ShoreTel, has integrated reports. It's up here under this kind of reports icon. Reports, call details. That's where you go. If you are a Mitel system admin and you want to give someone access to reporting, but you don't want them accessing other things, that's totally something you can do, and they'd only be able to get reports out of here and not do other things. So contact us and we'll show you how to do it. It's really straightforward. It's under the administrator setup. So once I'm in call details, I I have options on report types, about a dozen canned reports built in right here. Account detail, account summary, trunk detail, trunk summary, user detail, user summary, WAN detail, WAN summary, and then work group reports. There's 4 of those built in if you're using work groups. So what I'm going to do is go to the user activity detail report and click on that one. This is a great report to look at a specific user's calling and who they've been on the phone with. So let me pick on, let's see here, Ryan at 1468. So I'm going to do a start date of the beginning of the month, and I'm going to do an end date of today, and I'm going to time start and leave it blank, right, all day long. And I'm going to go up here where it says filter. I know the stuff is very small, I apologize, but this is where you enter in the filters. So I can add a filter and say the start of the range is 1468, the end of the range is 1468, right? That filter is now added. When I'm ready to run a report, I want to show internal calls or not, hit run report. Wait a second for the data to pull up. It's about 17 days of calls. It's going to take it a second because on the Mitel Connect system, all these reports are designed to run as a background process, so they don't interfere with call operations or voicemail or anything. So it's done, and now we can see it. This is a 7-page report. Here's the calls for Ryan Arellano right here. And I can scroll through the report data a page at a time. I can see all those calls. I can also jump to the end right here and see some summary data. Ryan's been pretty busy. So far this month, Ryan's been on 175 calls for about 5 hours, average call duration about 1 minute and 41 seconds. That's fairly typical for him. He does a lot of internal calls and externals as well. At the top here, you have some options. You can print it or you can export it. If you print it, it's nice handout. It's formatted kind of pretty already. It looks okay. If you export it, you have a lot more options. You can export it in all these formats: Crystal, PDF, Excel, and so on, even XML. So when you export to Excel, you have options of the report or data only, Word report or data or editable, and then rich text. I personally prefer this option, the very first one, Excel. So I'm going to click that, all pages, export. It drops it here for me. I can pull it up. Here's my report. If let's go here. Ducks. Hold on a second. Let me down here. And if you're familiar with using Excel, you can go. Oh, missed one there. And you can do a page layout, print area, set print area. And you can see your page breaks, and you can edit it. It's obviously searchable, sortable, all those things. If I go back in here and I choose the Excel data only and export as that, it strips the headers off and strips that formatting off. And it looks just like this. This is more for, inclusion in another source. So let me do this for just 1 second and show you what I did here. Just like I did with my call export. When I did that, I'll put a date here. And these fields, I don't know why Mitel does this to us, but they don't line up. The headers don't line up with the actual call records. So you can't really take that for what it's worth. You're going to have to modify it. So this is let's take all these off, delete. now it lines up. Don't know why that is. Kind of a problem that's been there since forever, but that's just the way it goes. So I've got all that set up. I can now filter that data like I did with my other tool, my other report, and I can sort, search. I can say, hey, I only want to see his internal, external calls. That's all I want to see. I don't need this column, pull it out. And I want to look at the calling party number, see who it is. Maybe only see this one, and there's just one call. Maybe there's somebody else that's got multiples. Let's pick half a dozen of these, right? It also shows you what channel it was on, the duration. So that's the user activity detail report. You also have an option of running the trunk activity detail report or the trunk summary report. Now, on a trunk activity detail report, it's going to get all the calls, not just from one user. Also, just as an example, I could put in here from 1400 to 1500, right? And let's just run that for a week instead of running, or a couple of weeks. And now I'm getting every extension in that range broken down by user. This report's 149 pages though, because it shows everybody, sales hunt group, calls, Ryan's calls, Chuck's calls, Sam's calls, Jacob's calls, Cheryl's calls. They're all in here now. And so you can obviously export those, edit them, do whatever you like with them. So that's the Mitel kind of integrated call reporting. That's what comes in the box, for free. I'm going to take a brief moment and pivot over to BrightMetrics. I am still monitoring the Q&A and chat as well. If you have anything you want to throw in there last minute as we approach end time here. Not a sales pitch, but there's a vast difference between what you get with the integrated and what you get with BrightMetrics. BrightMetrics is an add-on. It's an annual subscription. It's affordable. It's priced based on the size of your system. The smaller your system, the less costly it is, and it has much more powerful tools and much more powerful reporting. And all of this is configurable kind of by user, so each user has his or her own views. So I've got a kind of a call summary view, and each one of these boxes is a customizable window that I created for the ones I wanted to see, right? You can see here John's had 121 calls so far this month. He's been burning up the phones. Me and Derek had about 57 apiece. Paul's had 48. And then I've got a call count and sales calls today kind of thing. So that's my call summary. Totally customizable. You can make it look like whatever you like. Another thing that this one does really well is handle contact center. If you have a contact center, it's beautiful reports, graphical data, easy to understand data, just a fantastic report system overall. The reason I bring it up is it also has on demand. So a minute ago we were in the Mitel, right? And you've got about a dozen or so integrated reports, and you see how they work. In BrightMetrics, you've got tons and tons and tons of options. So, 25, 30 integrated, plus you can make new ones look like whatever you like. Couple of resources for you. I want to point these out because they're fantastic. This help button takes you to this help content area that shows you, and I normally, when somebody tells me to look at the help video stuff or the help functions, I usually get really agitated by that because it's usually just garbage. A lot of products, the help is just awful, right? But I will tell you that the people who founded BrightMetrics started off as a Mitel partner themselves, trying to help their customers with better reporting, and they're very sensitive to having quality training and quality help. So I will say, in my experience in this industry of 22 years, this help content is probably the best. I don't think I've seen any quite this good. So the help videos I love because they're broken down by section. Let's say you want help with reports. In each of these areas, it has videos showing you exactly how to do what you need to do. For example, this says detail reports and cradle to grave, C2G. What that is cradle to grave is a way to look at reports of a call and every step it took all along the way. So when I click on that, it shows it's a 3-minute and 30-second video, and it has a transcript. So very good content here. I'm going to just bounce in here real quick and let you show kind of what it does. So super cool, step-by-step walkthrough video training. Very easy to look at, view, jump around, just fantastic. So they invested a lot of time and money in getting this training just right, so you have it there for you. So don't forget that help. Another resource that's up there, go back, training at the bottom here, see training, and there's options. Customized training is always an option. I'd save that for last, but you can just do on-demand, admin, or personal. This admin training, when you click it, gives you options for dates and times that they've pre-decided they're going to book a 1-hour admin training. You attend these for free, even if you're not a BrightMetrics customer. You can also do the on-demand training, which I showed you kind of a minute ago. You pick one, but then it just plays it live. Or you can do the training videos, which I was showing you those as well. Let me show you something cradle to grave that's a huge one. So let's go to user activity detail report. And then at the top, you'll see all my filters. And I'm much more intuitive looking than the Mitel one. So let's choose the last 30 days, including today, right? Party name, everybody, a range of people, or just specific people. I'm going to click on specific people, and then I'm going to type in Ryan, shows him there. And I'm going to type in Don Gulling, shows me in there. Why do I have so many phones? Long story. So now it's got me and Ryan over the last 30 days, date and time, all of them, inbound, outbound. I want to do just inbound. I'm going to show you why in a second. Once I've done that, I'm also going to choose selected here. And let's add hunt groups. Apply. So run the report, and it's going to pull call data for me and Ryan for 30 days with all those options, and it's going to let me see them. So it shows kind of Don's up here, shows Ryan's down here that met the criteria. So let me pick one that's got some time to it. Scroll down here to one of Ryan's. So here's an inbound call for 17 minutes. I'm going to click on that one. It's going to pull up the call detail. And this is what cradle to grave looks like. Now this is a direct extension call. Somebody called him right to his extension. They talked for 17 minutes. Let's look at this one. This one is about 6 minutes long, a direct to extension call. Let's look at this one. Let's see. I'm trying to find one that's got a kind of an unusual call pattern to it. Let's see if we can find one here that looks like that. This one's a transfer, so that's good. So cradle to grave is very good because what it can let you see graphically is an inbound call. This is the caller ID name. It hit work group call schedule, went to our auto attendant. The customer listened to the auto attendant for 21 seconds. They pressed the option for the sales hunt group. It rang for 1.5 rings. 10 seconds is 1.5 rings. Then Ryan answered it and was on the phone from 2:21:56 to 2:29:59, almost exactly 8 minutes. I can also drop down to the recordings because we are using integrated call recording for our hunt group calls so we can monitor call quality. And I can play it back right from here, or I can download it, save it, play it back later, or send it to someone. So that's what the cradle to grave looks like in BrightMetrics. Significantly better than what's available in the integrated package. So thought you might want to see that. I'm going to back up here. Discard those changes. Yeah, Get rid of that. One more report I want to show you that's kind of interesting, user activity summary. This is if you're looking at a large group of people and you want to look at their performance across a multiple day period. So I can sort again with filters, date, time, party names, and so on. So I'm going to drill into this a little bit. Let's go back to a selected group of people. Let's choose William, who's one of our key team members on our remote support team. Jenna, who a lot of you may know now. Alex, who you may know now as well. And let's choose Nick Canterbury. And last one I want to choose is, well, let's leave it at those. Apply. Check. Run the report. And what's going to show me across all those people for that period of time, a summary, which is what we chose, but then it adds these green plus symbols here, and we can kind of expand out on anybody's calls and then drill into details. But this is a nice view if you got a call center or service group and you want to see, you know, who's taking the lion's share of the calls, you'll be able to tell. So on the inbound side, over that 7-day period, Alex had 89, Jenna had 73, Nick had 17, Bill had 44, total of 223. So it looks like Alex is taking the lion's share. Average call time 436 for him, Jenna average call time 413, and so on. Let's say I want to drill into Nick's calls. I hit the plus symbol, and now it's going to take me straight into a detail report from Nick instead of me having to go back and run another one. Now I can scroll through all of his calls and see them. Let's say I want to filter it or search it by inbound or outbound. Look at the inbound, okay? And then I want to choose one that's on a main line here, transfer, and it was cradle to grave details. Boom. So I can see it was a call from a client. That's their caller ID name. Hit our schedule, went to the auto attendant. They listened to that for 20 seconds. Chose the support team, went to Jenna. Jenna talked to him for about 28 seconds and he had talked to Nick. Then instantly it was kind of sent over to Nick, and Nick was on the phone for just about a minute. But if I click on that or the call recording, I can see that, and I can also listen to the call cradle to grave or download it. So a lot of cool stuff you can do. Not a sales pitch, but a lot of you are using it. I wanted to make sure that you knew what was there and kind of how we use it day to day, and also look at that cradle to grave. So those are the topics we had to cover today. The Communicator Power User Tips and Tricks. We talked about events, call ID / call GUID, you know, manipulating call data by exporting it and filtering it and so on. We also looked at director integrated reporting, and we looked at some director kind of initial troubleshooting and call quality viewing. And then lastly, we finished off with some information about BrightMetrics. I want to pause for a minute and give everybody a chance to enter any last questions or chats of what they want to cover. Otherwise, I want to say, while we're wrapping up, happy holidays to everyone. I mean that sincerely. It's a tough year for a lot of folks. I feel blessed, lucky, and fortunate to be in the position I'm at. And, you know, my family's been healthy reasonably. No one's been really sick, thank God. And same for our office. We did have a real close call with one of our team members who got COVID and had to be hospitalized, but he's home now feeling better. So that's good news. And he'll be back to work soon. But other than that, I feel like we have been dodging bullets so far. Hopefully things are going well for you. And as we enter a time when we're all looking to, you know, family and to reflect on the year and to get some comfort in our lives, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, sincerely, thank you for all your support, for supporting us and taking care of us for these many years you've done that, and let you know we're here for you in any way we can. So please, you know, feel free to call me on my direct line at any time, email me anytime. Of course, you got the rest of our team as well to help you out. And we look forward to talking to you soon. If I don't talk to you personally within the next week or so, again, Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a great 2021. And please let us know if we can help. That concludes the webinar. I will stick around for a few moments to monitor chat and questions. If you got any last things, I'd be glad to cover them. Otherwise, we'll see you next time in January.